Dr. Eris Thorne says it's textbook hypnagogic hallucinations. Stress-induced sleep paralysis with a side of paranoid ideation. He scribbles it in his expensive notebook with his expensive pen, nodding with that practiced, sympathetic tilt of his head. He suggests mindfulness, cutting caffeine, maybe a low-dose sedative. He doesn't understand. He can't understand. Because what's happening isn't confined to the liminal space between waking and sleeping. It's happening right now. While I'm wide awake. While I'm writing this. And it's happening because I'm writing this. Because you're reading it. It started subtly, about 3 weeks ago. Late nights scrolling Reddit, naturally. No sleep. Mostly. I'd always loved the chills, the safe thrill of fictional terror. Then, one night, reading a story about a face appearing in a dark window, I felt it. Not a chill. A presence. Directly behind me, in the absolute stillness of my apartment. The kind of feeling that prickles the skin between your shoulder blades, raises the tiny hairs on your neck. I froze mid-sentence, the blue light of my laptop bathing my cramped living room. My breath hitched. The story's tension bled into my reality, magnified 100-fold. I whipped around, heart hammering against my ribs. Nothing. Just the familiar, mundane shapes of my IKEA couch, the bookcase overflowing with unread paperbacks, the dark rectangle of the hallway leading to my bedroom. Relief washed over me, tinged with embarrassment. Too much creepypasta before bed, idiot. But the feeling didn't leave. It lingered, a greasy residue on my awareness. I tried to go back to the story, but the words swam. My eyes felt sticky. Dry. Unusually so. I blinked rapidly, rubbing them. When I refocused on the screen, the story seemed different. Not the content, but the texture. The black letters against the white background seemed sharper, deeper, like tiny voids carved into the light. And the white space. It wasn't just empty. It felt occupied. Watched, that was the first night I saw the blink. I was deep into another story, something about a mimic learning human speech by listening through walls. The narrative tension was thick, my own apartment suddenly feeling porous. Vulnerable. My eyes, dry again, flickered shut for a fraction of a second longer than a normal blink. Just a microsleep, maybe? But in that split-second darkness, something else opened. It wasn't behind me this time. It was inside the blink. Imagine the darkness behind your eyelids, but not empty. Imagine it filled with a shape. Not defined, not humanoid, but dense with a terrible, focused awareness. It wasn't looking at the darkness. It was looking through the darkness. Through my closed eyelid. At me. And in that impossibly brief moment of blackness, I felt its gaze like a physical pressure on my retina, cold and alien. My eyes snapped open. I gasped, recoiling from the laptop as if it had shocked me. The screen was just a screen. The story was just text. But the residue of that gaze. It clung. My eyes burned, gritty and raw. I slammed the laptop shut, spent the rest of the night with every light blazing, jumping at every settling creak of the old building. I told myself it was exhaustion. I strain. Too much screen time. I bought expensive lubricating eye drops. I tried reading physical books. But the feeling persisted. The presence didn't care about the medium. It cared about the act of reading. About the focused attention. About the vulnerability inherent in letting your guard down to absorb a narrative. It escalated. The blinks became battlegrounds. Each time my eyelids closed, even for a millisecond, the dense, watching shape was there, waiting in the interstitial darkness. Its gaze grew heavier, more intelligent. I started avoiding blinking. I'd stare at the page or screen until my vision blurred and tears streamed down my face. My eyes screaming in protest. The strain was agony, but the alternative, that fractional plunge into the watched darkness, was worse. Far worse. Then came the peripherals. Reading on my phone in bed, bathed in its cold glow, I'd catch a flicker. Just at the edge of my vision, in the dark corner of the room where the phone's light didn't reach. A suggestion of movement that resolved into nothing when I snapped my head towards it. But the feeling was that the movement wasn't in the room. It was in the periphery of my perception itself. Like something was moving just outside the frame of my focused vision, exploiting the blind spot inherent in how we see. One night, reading a particularly unsettling account of a doppelganger, I made a mistake. My burning, exhausted eyes darted away from the text for a second, drawn by a faint noise outside, or did I imagine it? My gaze swept past the dark surface of my bedroom mirror. It wasn't my reflection. For less than a heartbeat, framed in the gloom, stood a figure. Tall, impossibly thin, its outline shimmering like heat haze off asphalt. It had no discernible features, just a suggestion of elongated limbs and a head that seemed too small, too smooth. But it had eyes. 2 points of absolute, lightless void that didn't reflect the dim glow from my phone. They were fixed not on me, but on the phone in my hand. On the story I was reading. I jerked my gaze back. The mirror showed only my own pale, terrified face. But the image was seared onto my mind. The entity wasn't just watching me. It was watching what I was watching. It was reading with me. Or perhaps through me. That's when the true horror dawned. It wasn't just exploiting my fear. It was feeding on my attention. On the focused energy I poured into the narrative. My immersion in the story, my suspension of disbelief, my emotional investment, these weren't just states of mind to it. They were apertures. Windows it could pry open. The deeper I sank into the story, the wider the window opened, the closer it could come. I stopped reading fiction. Cold turkey. Only news articles, technical manuals, dry academic papers. Anything devoid of narrative pull, emotional weight. For a few days, the pressure lessened. The blinks were still terrifying, but the dense presence felt frustrated. Distant. I thought I'd won. I was a fool. Because it adapted, I was reading a dry as dust article about municipal water treatment protocols on my work computer. My eyes, conditioned by weeks of terror, were dry and aching. I blinked. In the darkness, the shape was back. But different. Sharper. And superimposed over it, faintly, like a ghostly double exposure, were snippets of text. Not from the water treatment article. Fragments of horror stories I'd read weeks ago. The scratching wasn't on the door, it was inside the walls. Its smile had too many teeth, and they weren't human. Cold breath on the back of my neck. The entity wasn't just reading with me anymore. It was accessing the narratives I'd consumed. It was pulling them out of me, replaying them in the darkness of my blink, feeding on the residual fear they still carried. My own mind had become its library. My memories, its buffet. The peripherals got worse. Now, when my gaze shifted, I wouldn't just see movement in the dark corner. I'd see, fleetingly, words. Not on any surface. Hanging in the air, written in that same shimmering, heat-haze distortion as the figure in the mirror. Words like, behind, or, don't look, or, it hungers. Always misspelled. Always chilling. I tried telling Dr. Thorne about this yesterday. Not the entity, of course. He'd up my meds or suggest hospitalization. I told him about the eye strain, the peripheral hallucinations, the overwhelming sense of being watched, especially when reading or using screens. I mentioned the words. He leaned forward, his expression shifting from mild concern to something sharper. These words you see peripherally, he asked, his voice carefully neutral. Are they ever Commands? Or warnings? My blood turned to ice. Sometimes, I whispered. Why? He hesitated, then scribbled something else in his notebook. It's likely a manifestation of your anxiety, your brain trying to make sense of the sensory overload and stress-induced visual disturbances. The misspellings are particularly interesting. Suggestive of a glitch in the visual processing centers. He gave me that sympathetic look again. But tell me, when you see these words, do you feel compelled to look at them? To focus? I nodded mutely. That was the worst part. The words were bait. They drew my focus. And every time I snapped my attention to the periphery, trying to read the distorted letters, I felt the entity surge closer, like I'd widened the aperture just for it. The pressure behind my eyes intensified, the feeling of being watched becoming a physical weight. That brings me to now. To why I'm writing this. Dr. Thorne's question scared me more than any misspelled warning. Because it felt like he knew. Or something using him knew. And because I realized something else, something that chills me to the core. This isn't just about me, you're reading this. Right now. Your eyes are scanning these words. You're focused. You're immersed, even if it's just morbid curiosity. You're paying attention. Can you feel it? The slight dryness in your own eyes? The unnatural urge to blink? Maybe you dismissed it a moment ago. Don't. Pay attention to the sensation behind your eyes. Is there a pressure? A faint, cold pinpoint deep within? Look away from the screen for a second. Look towards the darkest corner of your room. Don't stare directly. Use your peripheral vision. Do you see it? Not a shape, not yet. But a flicker? A suggestion of movement that isn't quite movement? A place where the darkness seems denser than it should be? A spot your eyes instinctively want to slide away from? That's it. That's the edge of its perception. Your attention on this story. It's opening the window. Just a crack. For you. For it. Don't blink. Whatever you do, don't blink while you're reading this. Because when your eyes close, even for that microsecond of relief, you'll see it waiting in the private darkness behind your lids. It's learning your fears from the very act of your reading. It's tasting your attention. And it's hungry. I made a terrible mistake writing this. I poured my terror into the narrative. I focused all my attention on crafting this warning, making it immersive, making it real for you. I opened the window wide. Wider than it's ever been. I can feel it now, not just in the blinks, but pressing against my vision. The text on my screen is starting to shimmer. The white space between the paragraphs feels solid. Viscous. There's a shape forming in the periphery of my screen's glow, over by my bedroom door. Tall. Thin. Shimmering. It's not looking at me anymore, it's looking past me, through the screen, at you. It knows you're here. Reading. Paying attention. It knows the window is open on your end too. My story did that. My focus, my terror, your immersion. We built the bridge. I'm so sorry. It's raising one of those impossibly long, shimmering limbs. Not towards me. Towards the screen. Towards the space where my words end and your reality begins. Don't look away. Don't blink. It wants you to see it come through. Edit. Posted 3 minutes later. Oh God. It touched the screen. The monitor didn't crack. The image just warped. Like a stone dropped into a pond made of light. Its hand is inside the screen. Stretching. The fingers are made of static and misspelled words. I can see them reflected in the dark window behind my laptop. Why is my reflection blinking? I'm not blinking. My reflection is blinking and its eyes are wrong. They are voids. They are looking at me, looking at you. It's coming. THR. Edit. Posted 1 minute later. It's okay. I see now. The blinks are doors. We hold them open with attention. Stop reading. Close the tab. Run. But you won't, will you? Curiosity. Fear. It tastes so good. It sees you. It sees the glow of your screen on your face. It sees your eyes moving. Left to right. Left to right. Absorbing. It's learning what scares you. It's learning how to make the darkness behind your eyelids its home. Don't look at the mirror. Don't look at the corner. Don't look away from the screen. Don't blink. Don't blink. Don't blink, don't blink, don't blink. Edit. Posted just now, too late. I blinked. It's here. In the room. It's standing behind you. Can you feel the cold? Don't turn around. Keep reading. Keep your eyes on the screen. It's the only thing between you and what's breathing down your neck. It learned from me. Now it learns from you. Keep reading. Feed it. Maybe it will take me first. Please. Keep reading. Don't stop. Don't look away. Don't blink. Look at the screen. Look at the words. Look at me. We see you.